Awesome. Looks like it's working. Looks like it's working. Okay. All right. I'm just going to wait for, awesome. Thanks, Tony. So this was totally spur of the moment. I didn't have any plan to do this live. I was just going to record it and then throw it up. But you know what? I got bold and I'm going to do it anyway. So this is something that I'm very passionate about and that I have been studying for the last 6 years now. Through my own trauma, post-traumatic stress that I encountered with the suicide of my brother, I came in contact with this neuroplasticity concept, which is actually a real thing. And so the ministry that I run, we developed this platform called Rise TV, formerly known as Living Water. And we have a subscription-based type platform where we have on there guided mindfulness meditations, we have guided holy yoga practices, we have brain work on there, I have a webinar in there that teaches you how to set goals. So it's really all in all just to help somebody take their life to the next level and be abundant in every area, spiritually, physically, financially. Tony, can you see okay? So anyways, and here's what I know, friends, is God made our brains plastic, and there's something that happens to a person's brain. It changes structure when we experience trauma, or it's a conditioning thing, right? So we're going to talk about all of that here, okay? So the first thing that I want to talk about is it's about, how God made our brains plastic, and it's all about our habits, right? So I'm going to start from the beginning here. Here we go. All right, so that God made our brains plastic. So our thoughts become things. We've heard that so many times before, that thoughts become things, right? And so as a man thinks, so he is, right? And that's really true. Your life will move in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. But not only that, it actually changes the structure of your brain, okay? Mind blown, right? And so the human brain is remarkably malleable. So it can be shaped much like a ball of Play-Doh, right? So a little bit, you might need a little bit more time and effort with your brain, but here's the deal, is that science is backing up what the Bible says about our brains and about our minds, right? So the Bible says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. That's 2 Corinthians 10:5. Science says, within the last 20 years, thanks to rapid development in the spheres of brain imaging and neuroscience, we can now say for certain that the brain is capable of re-engineering, AKA transforming, right? So there's a guy named Norman Doidge, and he wrote a book called The Brain That Changes Itself. And I've had this book on my bookshelf way before 6 years ago. I never even really opened it, but it's always been here, right? He said, I saw people rewire their brain with their thoughts to cure previous incurable obsessions and trauma, right? So here's what we know, is that the minds of, say, wealthy people and the minds, I'm just using this as an example, the minds of wealthy people and the minds of broke people, their subconscious and conscious minds are just wired differently, right? Why is that? Why is that? A lot of times it's because of the environment that they're in. They're hanging out with those people who are small-minded, right? The ones that wake up, start their day watching the news. The news, gets everybody started off on the wrong foot. And these people get paid money to have everybody leave their house thinking that everybody is a pedophile and a pervert. And so they don't trust anybody and they're just negative all day long, right? So there's one way that conditioning happens, right? And so here's a few reasons why that neuroplasticity is good, right? One is that it increases our IQ, right? We can become smarter. Neuroplasticity, it gives us the ability to learn new things, right? We call them creating new neuro pathways. So like, for instance, we're such creatures of habit. Say when you go to the grocery store, let's go through this one. You go to the grocery store, you walk in the store, you go, like for me, it's normally I go produce and then I go to the left and I go all around that way. And some days I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go the opposite way. It takes me longer because I'm like, oh my God, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. But it's a real thing, right? So it's like creating new neural pathways, right? Here's another thing is that we can recover from brain injuries. And there's a guy by the name of Mike Barwis, and he was part of our Avocare organization. And we call him the Miracle Man because he's got this figured out. Like he would take people that were paralyzed, like that they were told that they can never walk again. And he would use this concept and to get them to walk again. And Mike Barwis, you got to look him up. It's amazing. He had a video called Miracle Monday. So you want to make sure that you look that up. But we can become emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is basically just being self-aware, right? You're self-aware of your bad habits. You're self-aware of things that you do. Like for me, I always say, right? Like I say that a lot when I'm talking, right? See, I just did it, right? But we can also unlearn harmful behaviors, habits, and beliefs, right? But see, on the other side of the coin, you know, thanks to our ability to unlearn harmful behaviors, beliefs, and habits, we could also relearn them, right? So if you like remove yourself from the environment, but then you go back into the environment, well, our brains are amazingly malleable, so they could be changed back to the old and bad habits, right? And the thing about it is like beliefs change our brain. Like just the beliefs change our brain. And neurons that fire together wire together. Okay? And basically proving the relationship between our thoughts, the neurons that fire, and the structural changes in the brain wire together. So that's what that means, meaning fire together, wire together, right? So your experiences, your behaviors, your thinking, your habits, your thought patterns, your ways of reacting to the world are inseparable of how your brain wires itself, right? And so negative habits change your brain for the worse. And then positive habits change your brain for the better. So yesterday I did a video talking about my habits that I do on a daily basis, no questions asked. Like I will not do anything else until these things are done every single day on a daily basis. And that is, I'm waking up and I'm really utilizing my subconscious mind at that point of the day, because the first 20 minutes upon waking up, your subconscious brain is the most impressionable. So I am speaking my affirmations out loud, right? I'm speaking who I am. I'm speaking that I'm strong. I'm speaking that I'm healthy. I'm speaking that I'm wise. I'm speaking that I'm releasing the gold mine within me, right? And then so it becomes a habit. And the more you do it, right? What you practice grows. So these are some habits that I do on a daily basis because, you know, the struggle's real, people, right? Like if you're on a mission like I'm on to like literally make an impact on the world and heal tons of people and get them to live the kingdom life, really grasp their inheritance and go out and really be who God created them to be and be abundant. That means, you know, tithing of their money and going out in the world and discipling other people versus just showing up at church on Sunday and leaving and not doing anything else, right? So I got a big old target on my back, right? But here's the deal is I have armor and I've just decided to not pay attention. So I do these habits like no questions asked. They're getting done, right? So here's the deal is here's how neuroplasticity affects our health. And this is just talking about just say like depression. So depression, it says there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the brain. It's simply that particular tuning of neural circuits creates the tendency toward a pattern of depression, right? So it has to do with the way the brain deals with stress, habits, planning, decision-making, and a dozen of other things, right? So it's the dynamic interaction of all those circuits. And once a pattern starts to form, it causes dozens of tiny changes throughout the brain that create a downward spiral, right? And most of the time, again, all these things, anxiety and depression and all these things, there's just really no connect with the mind, body, spirit. And, you know, for me, you have to address the whole. I've always, even back in my training days, you know, I've always addressed the person as a whole. You can't just address the body, because there's a reason, like somebody has an eating addiction is because their body's in control, right? Their body's dictating versus their mind needs to be the master, right? And so these tools that I have in Rise TV all are going to help that, right? So question, only because I have to ask now, lest I forget, what is my education? So I actually went through trauma certified whole yoga training. So we went through a certification that really broke down what happens to the brain in trauma. I've read several of my own books, like Carolyn Leaf's Switch on the Brain, How the Brain Changes Itself. So I do have a certification. You can see it up there on the wall, trauma sensitive, and basically using yoga to heal people of post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, because a lot of times their body is in control. So they're going after things like alcohol, sex, sugar, whatever, to kind of fill that, what they feel they need at that time. But here's the deal, is they have to keep on doing it. And so we are on a mission to teach people, let's get this all connected. And that's what this Rise TV is going to help somebody do. Okay. All right. Who knows this person? You know, you all have one, right? Debbie Downer. We all know one. You know, the one who's complaining, the one who's continually negative. You know, they start their day watching the news every day. They're always talking about the things that they're against. They're not satisfied in keeping their thoughts and their feelings to themselves. But here's one thing that I've learned, because let me tell you, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Drove me effing crazy. All right. Just drove me effing crazy. But see, I've developed more compassion in my walk with Christ, and realizing, and I have this gift of, you know, people just don't walk out their house every day and say, I'm going to be an a-hole today, right? There's circumstances behind that made, and I have the ability to step back and say, okay, hurting people hurt people, and there's a reason why they're this way, right? The Debbie Downer person, she probably, you know, it's her environment more than likely. So we need to understand versus like chastising them, right? So this is kind of where like complaining comes into this, right? So we all know that person who's just constantly negative, right? So negative people are almost always complainers without fail. They're undoubtedly annoying to their friends and family, right? But it's just when we really know what we know now, and even in this short, however long we've been on here now, that we know, like there's something that made these people that way, right? But complainers generally fall into three groups, right? Attention-seeking behaviors, right? Attention-seeking complainers, people who seek attention through complaining, always dwelling how they've got it worse off than everybody else. They have the inability of perspective. They have the inability to gain perspective of their circumstance, right? Looking at like somebody else's circumstance and saying, okay, I don't really have it all that bad, right? And then you have the chronic complainers. You have the chronic complainers, those folks that live in a constant state of complaint, right? If they're not voicing about their woe is me attitude, they're probably thinking about it, right? And psychologists actually have a term for this, compulsory behavior rumination, defined as repetitively going over a thought or a problem without completion. So these are the people that, there's a guy named Mark Letgibb that says all the answers, none of the money, right? Basically, you know what he's saying there, right? So is the brain to blame? Mostly, you know, yes. Most negative people, you know, they don't want to feel this way. I mean, who the hell would want to feel that way, right? But harmful behaviors such as complaining, if they allowed to loop within the brain continually, will inevitably alter thought processes, right? So altered thoughts lead to altered beliefs, which lead to a change in behavior. And so here's the deal is our brains have this negative bias. It's like Velcro to the negative. It's like we see a rabbit and we react like it's a lion chasing us, right? Just think about how you react when you see a spider. You're like, ah, right? And it's just our brains are just Velcro to the negative. And so negative stimuli produce more neural activity than positive ones. They are perceived more easily and quickly, right? So repetition is the mother of all learning. What we practice grows, okay? So here's why we developed Rise TV, right? Research has repeatedly shown that meditation and mindfulness are perhaps the most powerful tools for combating negativity, okay? So I have a researcher, it says, following a 3-month experience, Fredrickson's team noted that people who meditated daily continued to display increased mindfulness, purpose in life, social support, and decreased illness symptoms. All autoimmune diseases are derived from the mind-body disconnect. And I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to show you what this platform looks like. Hopefully, please tell me that you can see this. Julie, if you're still on here, can you tell me? Let me see if I can. I actually have it on my phone here. So one, give me a second while it catches up here. Okay, so here is what it looks like when you become a Rise TV member, all right? This is kind of what the membership area looks like. Now this is, you have a year's worth of stuff here. Is it working? Let me see. It's not looking like it's working here. Okie dokie. Let me stop share real quick, and then I'm going to share again, and I'm going to go here, share, boom. Here we go. Let's see if that worked. Okay, I'm just waiting, guys, for this to load up here real quick. Okay, here we go. So here's the membership area. All right. So here are basically, there's many of your yoga practices right here, okay? Mindfulness meditations right here. And here's the thing, you know, there's tons of the stuff on YouTube, but this stuff is designed, this is Christian-based stuff, right? So it's safe. I know a lot of people, my dog is going crazy out there. Perfect timing. I need to teach Piper how to meditate. So, you know, they're not real secure in their salvation, apparently, that they're afraid of these things, right? Let me just say that yoga and meditation is not a religion, right? It's keeping you from having peace and getting your mind to be focused on the things that you're for, right? And get control of your racing thoughts. So basically here is, I even have a playlist on here, which is a Christian playlist for your yoga practice. We just have tons and tons and tons of assets. And here's Robin, like with her brain work. This stuff is amazing. Right down here, let's see, 8 steps. This is the webinar I did that went over goal setting and how to create an extraordinary life and being intentional and setting goals and doing a vision board. And I mean, just so much stuff. This stuff is of high value, friends. I mean, literally, I would pay, you know, $79 a month for this, right? Right now on Rise TV, you get your first 30 days for free. And then after that, it's $16.99 a month. I mean, what an investment, right? For you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? For you to be mind, body, and spirit connected all the time, to start creating these habits. I even have one intermittent fasting workshop right here, because one of those habits that I do, I intermittent fast on a daily basis, right? And it covers, you know, how to do it, hormone regulation, basically about everything you would need to know about that. So this is of high value, friends. So, right, like I said, you get the first 30 days for free. And then after that, it's $16.99 a month. We're actually working on getting an app made for this right now because it's such an amazing tool. And the Lord keeps putting it on my heart that I really need to focus on this. Shows me in dreams. I'm a prophetic, apparently, because he's always speaking to me in my dreams. But so, you know, I really just wanted to jump on here and show you. I always talk about it, but I've never really showed you how, and this adrenal fatigue one, amazing. Like tons of views on Facebook on that, I mean on YouTube on that one, because there's a lot of people in adrenal fatigue and they don't know it. And there's some simple fixes. Our body, people, is a self-healing organism. So anyways, I'll put the link to get started with Living Water in the bottom of the comments here, and at least try it out for 30 days, right? There's no obligation. If you don't like it, then cancel it. No big deal. Okay, so is this yoga videos to follow along with, or reading, or buy the Jinx subscription? So this is yoga videos to follow along, or with reading, or buy. Yeah, yeah, of course, get off the fence, Julie. You know me. Like I said, try it for 30 days. I mean, there's no risk, right? I mean, if you don't like it, you can cancel it. So I'll go ahead and put the link in the comments here. And hey, thanks so much for jumping on here with me. And we're really passionate about this. Robin and I have spent lots of time, lots of prayer, lots of energy on this platform. And I know it's going to change hundreds of thousands of lives, and lots of healing is going to be done. So prayers for that too, because again, we have big old targets on our back. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And we hope you have an awesome day.